What happens when a tenant ghosts you, completely disappears, still owes outstanding rent or utilities, and their lease is about to end? Unfortunately, I had to file for an eviction. And what I learned could save you from a legal and financial nightmare, whether you're a landlord or a renter. Evictions are never easy, folks. They're emotional, they're stressful, and they're often misunderstood. I'm AG Squared, and I'm a landlord and my own property manager here in Georgia, and I want to share a real story with you all. One that highlights the legal rights and responsibilities on both sides, because too many people get caught off guard. This isn't legal advice, but it's based on my experience managing multiple rental properties, 8 of them to be exact, over the course of 7 years. One of my tenants had a lease ending on July 1st, 2025. And about 30 or 45 days prior to that, they still owed roughly around $400 or so in back pay, rent, and utilities. I gave them plenty of reminders of the move-out date because that's the right thing to do. It takes a lot of energy and planning to move out. So I sent emails, texts, tried calling them 60 days out, then again at 30 days out, 15 days out, 7 days out, and so on. I even sent reminders asking if they planned or wanted to renew around that 60-day mark, since I require a balance of $0 and notification of 30 days prior to the lease ending to be able to renew. And after all of this, no response. Total silence. That's a major red flag. If you're a renter and you stop responding to your landlord or property manager via texts, emails, calls, Snapchat, Instagram, it doesn't matter. If you stop responding to them, you're sending a clear message. I'm not planning to cooperate. Even their co-signer, who was initially responsive, eventually ghosted me too. At that point, I knew I had to prepare for the worst. Here's how the eviction process works in Georgia. It may differ in your state or even differ in your county. So again, this is not legal advice, but use it to get initially informed on how the system works in your area. Step 1, the landlord must give formal written notice. Sending it via text, email, or any other medium is recommended, but not sufficient. Be sure that you put a written notice on the tenant's door and take a picture of it once it's on the door. The notice has to be delivered in Georgia as of recently, such that at least 5 working days, weekends don't count, pass by before you move on to step 2. Step 2, if the issue isn't resolved amicably by the tenant and the landlord, as a landlord or property manager, you can now file a dispossessory affidavit in court. Basically, a formal eviction notice delivered by the sheriff on behalf of the court. Step 4, the tenant in my area has 7 days to respond by either ignoring the notice or by requesting a court date if they feel the landlord is not within their rights to evict them. But let's be honest here, folks. Staying past the agreed upon lease term is dead out wrong and a horrible thing to do to someone else. Step 5. If the court doesn't receive a response from the renter, the court rules in favor of the landlord by default. Step 6. Once the ruling is complete, either by default or after the in-person court date, if the judgment is awarded to the landlord, the plaintiff, the sheriff then schedules the physical eviction, where they show up to the house with the landlord and evict the tenant along with all their belongings. This whole nightmare of a process can take anywhere from 2 weeks to 45 days. So as a landlord, if you wait until after the lease ends to start this eviction process, you're already behind. Initiate the process 1 to 2 weeks before the lease ends, especially if the tenant is ghosting you or if they owe money. In these cases, initiate the proceedings at least 2 weeks prior to the lease ending. Here's what many renters don't realize, folks. An eviction doesn't hit your record until the court rules in the landlord's favor. If you move out before that and communicate clearly to the landlord, you can avoid the eviction going on your record. But if you stay, if you ignore notices, and if you owe money, you or your co-signer will be on the hook for back rent, future rent if you're staying past the lease agreement date, court costs, cleaning fees and damage repairs, and possibly more. And once that eviction is on your record, it's incredibly hard to rent again. I own 8 properties, and I can tell you, most landlords won't take that risk. And after this recent nightmare I'm going through, I likely won't give someone with a previous eviction a chance. I hate to take this stance because in the first 7 years in this business, I gave people that had difficult times in the past a chance to rent at an amazing price in a well-taken care home in a safe area. And to have someone take advantage of this and refuse to move out once their lease ends is so discouraging and sad. Even large apartment complexes will likely require a co-signer, and even then will likely deny your application altogether if you've got a recent eviction. Folks, don't get me wrong, life happens. I understand. People lose their jobs, face emergencies, car breaking down. They can fall behind. I get it. But communication is everything. If you're struggling, talk to your landlord. Ask for a payment plan. Request more time. Show that you're trying by consistently making small incremental payments as you can. Most landlords, especially private landlords like me that own less than 10 units, will likely work with you if you're honest and proactive. I have given many previous renters a payment plan with no late fees and allowed it to accumulate 2, sometimes even 3 months of past rent just because they were demonstrating accountability and a willingness to do everything in their power to pay me back. But ghosting me, that's the fastest way to lose your home and damage your future. Have you ever been through an eviction on either side of the system? What did you learn about it? Drop your story in the comments below. I love to hear your experience and any advice you have for others. And again, whether it's advice for renters or advice for landlords, advice for property managers, I don't care. This affects all of us as humans. If this video helped you out, like the video and share with someone who needs to hear it, whether they are a renter, a property manager, or an aspiring landlord. And if you're interested in more content around homeownership, real estate investing, or DIY do-it-yourself home repairs, maintenance, or renovation projects, subscribe to my channel. Remember, folks, stay informed, stay responsible, and stay safe.